Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how I like to smoke a pork butt on the Weber Smokey Mountain. I'll cover everything you need to know for getting super tender results. I'll even show you how to whip up a homemade Carolina Gold barbecue sauce for a really epic pulled pork sandwich. Let's get to it. Now, pork butts can vary a good bit in weight. This one was right at 9 pounds. As far as the fat cap, I don't really mess with trimming that. You want to leave that on so this thing comes out nice and juicy. Before the dry rub, you'll want to use a binder. I typically go with olive oil. For the dry rub, I used our BBQGuys Spiceology Carolina rub. This will be a good base layer of flavor for the pork. And of course, feel free to use your favorite rub. The homemade Carolina Gold sauce that I'll show you will bring that well-loved mustard and vinegar kick to the pork. This is a pretty big roast, so you can be liberal with the dry rub. Just work it into all the sides and edges, and this will help to form a nice bark. When smoking a pork butt, it's always a good idea to get an early start. You can expect it to smoke about an hour plus per pound. I used the 22-inch Weber Smokey Mountain for this cook. Fill your smoker with a batch of unlit coal and pour about 1/4 of a chimney starter of lit coal over the top of the base layer. This setup will allow the unlit coals to kind of gradually catch while you smoke. The Smoky Mountain has a water pan that sits in the middle of the cooking chamber beneath the cooking grids. This is a perfect deflector for the rising heat and a way to add moisture while smoking. It fits a good bit of liquid, so I like to use a mixture of water and apple cider vinegar. And for this cook, I'm tossing some beer into the mix. Just pour that in too. At this point, you'll want to let the smoker preheat and stabilize a bit. I'll leave the bottom vents completely open as well as the top vent until the ambient temperature reaches about 200 degrees. At that point, you can dampen down the 3 bottom vents to somewhere around half to 1/4 of a way open. Once you've stabilized at 250 degrees, it's a good time to go ahead and toss on the smoking wood. I like to use apple wood with pork. About 4 to 5 chunks should do just fine. Go ahead and put the pork butt on the grill, fat cap side up. You have a good bit of moisture rising from the water pan, so having the fat cap on the top side will allow it to self-baste a good bit during the cook. It's a good idea to monitor the cook with an internal probe as well as a probe placed at grid level. As for smoking temperatures, anywhere between 220 and 275 degrees will produce really great results. I let it smoke for a little over 3 hours before checking in. At that point in the cook, you'll see some nice color starting to form. I don't even worry about misting it at this point. I'm really just taking a peek because it looks so darn pretty. During the smoke, if you see your temperature start to drop a bit, just toss on a few chunks of unlit coal. I love the big fuel door on the Smoky Mountain because I don't have to take the meat off the grill to add coal. The next time I took a peek was about 6 hours into the cook. The pork was looking glorious. That rich mahogany color is what's so special about smoking. It just looks like meat candy. As for the Spritz, same as what we used in the water pan. 50-50 blend of water and apple cider vinegar, and yeah, some beer. This is when you'll want to take a deep breath and savor that beautiful aroma. You've earned it. At this point, the water pan is almost empty, so I'll top it off to keep that moisture rolling. I like to shoot for 201 degrees internal on the pork butt, so at 6 hours in, this one still has several hours to go. While it smokes, it's a good time to mix up the homemade Carolina Gold barbecue sauce. The gold color will come from a base of 1 cup of yellow mustard. Follow that with 1/4 cup of some raw honey, 1 tablespoon of tomato paste, and I like to add some heat with 1 tablespoon of Tabasco. Follow that with 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire sauce, 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar, and 1 tablespoon of olive oil. For the dry seasonings, I go with 1/2 teaspoon of chili powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and a bit more heat with 2 teaspoons of red pepper flake. It helps to have an immersion blender on hand, but if you don't, you can use a blender or a food processor to get a smooth consistency to that sauce. The Carolina style sauce is a bit different than, say, some of the other tomato-based sauces that have a lot of sugar content to them. The Carolina style has a lot less sugar content, which is going to give you that more tangy flavor. At 9 hours into the cook, it was looking beautiful. Nice outer bark with some rich color. When you check in, you might as well give it a spritz on some areas that are looking a bit dried out. At this point, the internal was reading 186 degrees. So I checked in on the fire, tossed in a couple of more coals for the remainder of the cook. All in all, it took right at 11 hours for this to hit an internal temp of 201 degrees. When you gaze upon your masterpiece, I think you'll agree the time you put into smoking was well worth it. When I went to pull it off the grill, it just started falling apart. But I'm never mad at a little snack piece falling off to tide me over while it rests. Man, when you lift it off the grill, you can just feel the tenderness. You know you're in for a treat. Give it a few slaps for good measure and it's time to wrap it in some butcher paper. Let it rest for at least 30 minutes and up to an hour if you have the patience. I like to place it in a cooler so the humidity is trapped in. While the meat rests, I also like to brown up some onion rings for topping my sandwich. For direct heat on your Smoky Mountain, just remove the water pan and open your vents all the way to get a nice hot skillet. I'm looking for just a quick browning on the rings, that way I get a savory but still crunchy onion ring. Right before they come off, I dust them with some salt and pepper. And of course, brioche buns are next level when you toast them with some butter. After almost an hour of resting, it's time to open this smoky little present. If you have a bone-in roast, all you need to do is give that bone a little wiggle and pull it on out. As for shredding the pork, it'll be so tender by this point, your hands will probably be the only tools you need. Man, it just falls apart. I like to toss it well so that the bark and fatty pieces are well dispersed. To serve it up, look, I wanted to make just a big, nasty sandwich. I topped that brioche bun with a fistful of pulled pork, poured on the Carolina Gold sauce, stacked the top with the grilled onion rings, and that right there is a sandwich that'll make your long day worthwhile.
That kinda looks nasty.
Thanks for watching today. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and give us a thumbs up. And hey, down in the comments, let us know what you'd like to see us cook up next time. Cheers.